athletes and fans around the world, it's time for another Primetime Muscle. Welcome back to the show. I'm Tim Wilkins, joined by these two great guys. Chris Cormier, what's up, my friend?
How you doing, my man? How are you?
I am
Good
ready
to be
to
here.
roll. Good to see you.
Good to be here.
Tarek El-Guindy, you've been all over the world as always. They just said you flew in on a private jet, so apparently you're still getting the star treatment around here.
No, it wasn't a private jet, but it was a nice seat. Been to Asia, South America, and Europe this year. Great competitors all over the world.
Well, we are talking about one of the biggest in this first segment today. In any category, you think, okay, it's all about the open, it's all about this. Classic Physique has dominated, and there has been one, it's not even a name anymore. You know, you got your J-Lo's and your C-Bum is the gold standard of Classic Physique for a few years.
Classic Physique came from the depths of the expo and was just like almost like a sideshow when it first started. Like, maybe we'll see if it works. But now it became, slowly but surely, a powerhouse and a must-see at all the competitions in the world.
And there's probably 2 or 3 categories that are the biggest now. You've got that. You go to an NPC show, NPC Worldwide, you've got Classic Physique, Men's Physique, and Bikini that are the 3 mainstays. Wellness is coming up, but those 3 are really powerhouses. Now, Chris Bumstead has been that gold standard, but he, some people have rivalries. One of his biggest rivalries in the last couple of years has been his personal injuries.
Yes, Tim, you're correct. We got to look at bodybuilding and the history of bodybuilding. Ronnie Coleman lost to his injuries. So did Dorian Yates when he retired after winning in 1997. Jay Cutler, he had the bicep tear. After that, he couldn't do anything. Phil Heath, he had a hernia. Once that started, putting impact on his body, he couldn't win the Olympia anymore. Chris Bumstead is a tremendous competitor, but that's something that he's not going to be able to win. If he has injuries, his career will be over. And I think he's fully aware of that, and he's also in peace with that. He had an injury on his lat last year. The previous year, he had an injury on his arms. His strategy of training is extremely heavy. That's who he is. I don't think he's going to change that. I had an opportunity to speak with him, and he goes, Tarek, that's what I enjoy doing. I know that once I stop competing, I'm still going to lift heavy. He learned that from his brother-in-law, Ian Valliere. But it is what it is, and we have to be realistic that this man right now that has won 5 titles and is incredible, has defeated Ramon, Urs Kalaczynski, Wesley Vissers, he could very well be one injury away from never competing again or never winning again. And there's nothing against his greatness. It's just the history of bodybuilding. And Ronnie Coleman, Jay Cutler, and Dorian Yates would tell Chris Bumstead, it is just bodybuilding.
Well, let's talk about should he retire. Chris, we were talking about his age this morning. How old is Chris? 30, 31?
No, he's 29.
29.
Yeah, 29 years old.
So he would be kind of following in Lee Haney's footsteps of getting a bunch of titles and then calling it quits early.
Yes, but Lee Haney didn't have the injuries like that. Lee Haney had the most smooth sailingest career out of anyone I ever known, and still, Tarek didn't mention the hamstring tear and the quad.
On Chris?
Yeah, and also a quad injury leading up to these Olympians. So that right there tells you, his whole body must feel some kind of way going into these shows. And it looks like everything he touches, turns to gold as far as products and sales and supplementation and shirts and socks or whatever, underwear, whatever else you want to sell, he could sell it in seconds. If it were me, I would give it one more year and just sell them to the sunset. You got a baby coming now.
Baby just happened.
Baby just happened.
Yeah.
Baby just happened.
Bradley, I think, is her name. Beautiful baby.
Yeah, so, you have everything you want, and what all the bodybuilders want to have is success in all these areas. And you have all that. You have the titles. I would give it one more shot, and then that would be it.
You know, not a bad way with his name to either underwear or baby wipes. You're going with C-Bum. C-Bum is a
C-Bum.
great name for an underwear line.
Yeah,
Just
there
throwing
you
it out
go.
there, Chris, if you need, more ideas in your empire.
There you go.
Derek is trying to keep it together. I don't make you laugh very often. Derek, that might be the strategy. We might be seeing this is the last year he comes in. You've all laughed at me, and it's not the first time. Sometimes you laugh with me, and most of the time you laugh at me. I think Wesley Vissers is going to give him hell. If he brings his condition from the Arnold Classic to the Olympia, he's going to push on him.
Well, that's a valid opinion, Tim. Wesley Vissers looked incredible at the Arnold. His conditioning was impeccable. That's how he surpassed Chris Bumstead. Chris Bumstead last year beat all these guys, including your boy Wesley Vissers, Ramon and Urs and Breon, and he had an injury. He had the lat injury. The previous year he looked incredible. His conditioning was perfect, and he had an injury. He has got himself a little bit of a distance from those guys. But I think he's one injury away from either calling it quits or losing, because the body's taking a pounding. Credit to him. In order to build this super body, he had to lift heavy and fight for it. But as everything in life, it takes a toll, and now he's starting to feel it. He's an extremely intelligent man. And I don't think Chris Bumstead would do one Mr. Olympia if he didn't think he was going to win. Okay? So I think he's jumping in on this 6-1. And I'm not saying he's going to be done afterwards. But what I'm saying is he is thoroughly analyzing his physique to see how far he can go. At the moment he feels he might lose to one of these guys, he will say, I am retiring. Can Wesley Vissers surpass Chris Bumstead? I'll be just a little bit more hesitant to say that, Tim. And the reason is I need to see more from Wesley. He placed 7th at the Olympia last year. Prior to that, I'm not quite sure he placed in the top 4. So this is the first time he's done something that he has beaten one of the top guys like Ramon and Urs. I need to see it at the Olympia stage. I need to see him beating Ramon and Urs at the Olympia stage. Then I'll join you. Not right now.
He beat Urs, but he didn't beat a lot of people on the Olympia stage. As far as Wesley's physique, it's kind of the same physique he's had. We got a little bit of a bump in the pounds, but it was his conditioning, I think, that catapulted him above great champions that he hasn't been able to beat in Olympia. But let's say he comes in and duplicates his look like he did at the Arnold Classic UK and still pushes towards the top, then I'm going to be a side-eye at the whole situation, because I thought at the Arnold Classic Ohio, he was ripped to shreds, and that was the reason why, he even got the look that he got, because at the time it was top 4 guys out there, and you're looking like, okay, he's hanging in there. He's hanging with all these guys that he was never able to hang with before. So now you're looking at, the top conditioning. He has his classic poses and everything. I like how he stays with the classic poses, but he's going to have to prove it at the biggest stage, and that's where he had his toughest challenge.
So normally I would say Wesley Vissers, and Tarek would be all over Ramon Dino's jock. So
Excuse me?
What color trunks?
You would
Black.
say, you can't win if you don't beat Ramon Dino. Well, he's beaten Ramon Dino, but what I'm saying from there is, if you look at Ramon's face from the Olympia battle a few months ago with Ramon, Urs, Wesley, and C-Bum, you see a man who was angry. He was so focused and so angry. He's not coming back to the Olympia in October with the mindset, I'm going to take second again until Chris retires. He's going to take second just to beat everybody else out and still try for first. He is as determined and focused as he could have been.
you know, so far, Urs Kalaczynski's has gone head-to-head with Chris Bumstead, and I think he only placed third or fourth, or maybe third when Ramon placed second. The guy who's brought more heat to Chris Bumstead is Ramon, no doubt.
No doubt.
And that was
Has he ever beat Chris?
he has not.
And who's beat Chris?
Breon Ansley.
So how is he bringing the heat the most?
Well, listen, Chris.
Duh. No, go ahead.
No, you do make a point. Once
It's
in a
real
while, you
point.
kind of make
It's a real-
sense.
It's a real point.
No, it's a real point, and I need to rephrase myself here, America.
Yes.
I'm gonna apologize because I misplaced myself in the history of bodybuilding.
As you always do.
No, we're just talking about a little bit of what's happening in the current events.
Yes.
In the past, we all know this. Not only Breon Ansley has beaten Chris Bumstead, but Terrence Ruffin has beaten Chris Bumstead. They competed at a regional show judged by Peter Potter.
Wow.
And Terrence Ruffin beat Chris
Florida.
Bumstead at a
Florida.
regional show in Florida.
Was that the Southern States?
No, but I can research that for you.
Do that.
And find
Yeah.
out. So Terrence
That's very
Ruffin has
interesting.
also beaten Chris Bumstead in the beginning of Chris Bumstead's career. And so did Breon Ansley. But lately, after he became Olympia, the only guy that has brought extensive amount of heat during prejudging and final has been Ramon.
Ramon, yeah.
Wesley Vissers, you look at Wesley Vissers in 2020. He's right here. He placed 11th. Last year he placed 7th. The previous year he probably placed 6th. I got to check. I need to see a little bit more of Wesley Vissers. Now forget about all these guys. If this guy here with the hoodie, the hands touching each other, if he falls for another injury, this could be the end of the CBum era. Not to say his era was not magnificent, but injuries are the end of great bodybuilding eras.
But I don't see Chris improving as far as size goes. It's going to be a refinement for what we've already saw.
Well, Chris doesn't have the real estate on the height weight chart to make too many additions. I think he only had a couple pounds left.
I just think equaling in the injuries, your mindset, training for another Olympian, just had a baby girl. I don't see you getting like being a bigger person. You can't really do that. So refinement, like I said, and also try not to get injured, because let's face it, when you're at a disadvantage of training and posing because you're injured, he said last time he only posed the last week before that show. And
Yeah.
you got people like Breon is going 8, 9, 10 weeks out posing. You got Ramon chomping at the bits to want to take his title. You got Wesley coming from Holland. The Dutch Oak is trying to take his title. These guys are posing a lot more than 1 week.
Yeah.
Just saying.
I'm going to take a little bit of both what you just said. I think if the downfall is going to come from Chris, it's injuries or good business sense, because he is a brilliant guy. The other part is refinement and people chomping at the heels. So we'll see what this year's Olympia holds, and it's just coming up fast. Guys, you're probably about 14 weeks out right now, so we'll find out soon enough. And we'll find out more on Primetime Muscle when we come back. Last segment, and there's a lot more the guys have to say about Wesley Vissers. Tarek, kick it off. What are you thinking?
Here's the edge. Like Leroy said, educate, educate.
Educate them.
Okay, guys, clear up. Okay?
All right.
Where's the camera? Kylie, you got me? You got me?
You feel me?
Chris Bumstead has beaten every single competitor in the last 5 years. When he hits his front double biceps, he's got the massive clavicle bones, and he's overpowered Ramon and Urs Kalaczynski and Breon Ansley and Terrence Ruffin. At the 2024 Arnold Classic in Columbus, Ohio, this man not only surprised the world with his conditioning, beating Ramon Dino, but for the first time since the beginning of the CBum era, we see a man that can overpower Chris Bumstead on the front double biceps. This guy, Wesley Vissers, has the amount of mass, the large clavicle bones, to take the impact from Chris Bumstead's front double biceps.
Are you talking width in his large
I'm
clavicle
talking
bones?
width. I'm also
Are you talking
talking
about the biceps?
arms. I'm talking arms. I'm talking shoulders. I'm talking width.
Arms all of a
I'm
sudden?
talking chest. I even think his nipples are a little harder than Chris right here. He even has the lats.
Well, he's somewhere in the areola. Tell us about this for real, Chris.
God.
We're missing a little.
I mean, as specific as I can get for you, brother. I mean, now find me the sartorius muscle.
So we need the biceps. It's an arm shot. We got the big body. We got the height. All these things can even the playing field for Chris. And he has better biceps than Chris, correct?
Correct.
And a better back double bicep than Chris, correct?
Correct.
So this is trouble for Chris.
It's trouble for Chris Bumstead. Now, the problem, don't get too excited, Tim Wilkins.
laughed at
okay?
me. Chris did laugh at me.
He's not gonna be your
Menberg.
he's not gonna replace Ryan Terry in your heart as a crush. The issue right here with, from the lat up, Wesley Vissers is a complete animal, a beast. He doesn't have the smallest waist. And that's an issue to go against Chris Bumstead and Ramon. So if his
Anybody.
waist was smaller, man, there would be a parade at Duns Square in Amsterdam.
It's not only the waist, but the hips. The hips on Chris is small, and that gives a better illusion to the smaller waist with the broad latissimus dorsi region up to the large clavicle bones. And it's just the shape and the structure at that point.
And I'm going to go back to the legs here. As we say, the edge for Wesley Vissers is right here. But on the lower half, because he's a tall guy, when he's hitting this front double biceps, we would need to see more of the flaring quads, which is one of the strengths of Chris Bumstead.
Well, let me tell you about a deeper thing to go. When Wesley turns around, he can beat Chris with a back double bicep, but dare I do say, from the glutes down to the ankle, is not a lot of flair and bells and whistles going on there with Wesley.
The edge does not apply in the lower half. The edge of Wesley Vissers is from here, from the end of the lats up. That's what we can give you, Tim Wilkins.
So, where does that put you? Ramon's got beautiful arms as well. Ramon's, in my estimation, a little thicker in the waist as well.
Thicker in the waist than
A
who?
little wider than Ramon needs to be. When you're talking about the incredible taper of Chris Bumstead.
The reason, okay, sorry to interrupt.
No, you're good.
The taper of Chris Bumstead is better than Ramon because Ramon has narrow clavicle bones. Ramon and Chris Bumstead have very similar small waist, but because Chris has the large clavicle bones, just like Wesley Vissers, their V-taper is more prominent than Ramon. But Ramon has a smaller waist than Wesley Vissers. Wesley Vissers has this amazing ratio because his lats and his clavicles are wide.
But short. Wide but short. And that's why Wesley likes to do the twisted front double a lot when he ever gets a chance to do his routine. He wants to show his smaller waist than what he actually has which is genius on his part.
That twist is not only not easy to do, but very genius to hide those flaws. You got to accentuate your positives, hide your flaws on posing. That is one of those places, from the lat attachment down where he could make up a little ground.
But if he can make some different, get creative with his poses and possibly get some different, he likes to use side stuff like this, that hides the weakness and situates his strengths.
Well, when people would help me coach before Men's Physique came along, they would say, try to keep your legs together so the judges think you have one big leg instead of two small legs.
That always helps.
That might help him as well.
That helps.
True story.
What did you do, Tarek?
Well, what's important is what I can do. And what I can do right now is to judge the Mr. Olympia to inspire millions of people to join the bodybuilding industry rather than smoke pot in Marbella, okay?
With Dorian,
yeah.
Dorian says,
don't try to shake my hand like you know what you're doing, okay?
All right.
Don't tell you need a lot more than that. You need a lot more than that. A lot more than that.
As we wrap this, Tarek, do you have any idea what Wesley's weighing in at to know if he's got some leeway to put some
I think
bulk
he
under
has
the
a
legs?
little bit of leeway, not a lot. Just like Urs Kalaczynski, he has a little bit of a leeway. Wesley Vissers can possibly put about 5 to 6 pounds of muscle. The guys that are really near are, Chris can put 2 pounds. I don't think he's like playing with that. He's just coming the same. Ramon is right on the edge. Every time we got to weigh in for Ramon, you got a line of Brazilians trying to stretch that man so he can be a little bit taller. Oh my God, my Brazilians, I love you, but we do things that nobody else in the world does.
But I tell you, here's the thing. Here's the last point I want to make. If Wesley is not in tip-top best shape of his life, better than the Arnold Classic, then it's all for now.
Chris is right.
There's one more guy that we need to discuss when we come back in the classic physique realm, and he's one of the OG campers at Camp Cormier. We'll talk about him when we come back.
People always ask how I got here. I was willing to work just a little harder than everyone else. Every damn day. If I can have hundreds of hours back, I'm gonna grab them. Spending hours prepping chicken, rice, and vegetables, F that. I rely on perfect nutrition. I rely on Trifecta.
All right, we discussed this earlier. One of the biggest rivalries in the early part of the sport, classic physique, Breon Ansley, Chris Bumstead. Back and forth, the ladder match. Breon was a 2-time classic physique champ?
Yes.
And
with an asterisk.
we are really, he's fighting. Last year, I thought personally he brought his best in a long time, if not his best ever.
You're correct, Tim Wilkins. A lot of people had him winning against Urs Kalaczynski, and he did beat Urs Kalaczynski at the 2024 Arnold Classic UK. He's hitting a stride, and I think the additional muscle that he can now put in his frame is helping him. Is he the Breon Ansley that won the 2 titles? No, he's not. He does have more muscle now. I give credit to him and Chris as his coach. He has more muscle, but one thing that continues to be an issue is that the waist is not as small and the flaring quads are not as prominent as they were when he won the Olympia.
Chris?
Yeah, well, that comes with getting a little older, but a clean look. What do I mean by clean? Let me educate you, as they would say back in the day. Let me educate you. Clean muscle bellies, as far as it's not a lot of clutters. No, you know exactly that there's striations. There's separation fully, like an anatomy chart. You don't see that on some of these champions with these flaring quads that you like to talk about.
What champions are you referring to?
People who place ahead of him.
Well, so mention some names.
Well, you know the names.
No, I want to hear from you.
You're the judge.
No, why don't you look at the camera and
why
mention
don't
those
you just
names?
be quiet and let me finish my...
If you don't have the courage to say the names, you shouldn't even bring it up.
Why don't you just be quiet?
Just look at the camera and say you don't have
said
the
what you had
courage
to
to
say.
mention those names.
Now, Be quiet with the short arms.
Okay, yeah. Just
Yeah,
mention those
yeah.
names. We're still waiting for
Yeah.
you to mention
Fix
those
your
names.
symmetry.
You
Fix
don't
your
have the
symmetry.
courage, don't say it.
Fix your symmetry.
So, Chris, are you talking about?
Anyway, as I was saying, let me start from the beginning. This guy was put together by, I would say, a master competitor himself, and a classic competitor. From the start, he was put together the right way. He improved his abs over time. When I first started working with him, his back was not one of the best in the sport, was not the best in classic, but it gradually became that through the hard training, through the months and the years. We spent the last 7 and 8 years together training for these shows. And when he turned pro, he was a middleweight. So he's 170, was it 176? As a middleweight, he went in the USA, but he only had four pounds to play with his whole career, which is not bodybuilding. You're
fine sculpting at that
yeah,
point.
you're sculpting and trying not to, you can't even peak correctly because you only get one full day, almost a day and a half sometime, to come from making your weight to getting on stage. And so not a lot of food, not a lot of nutrition can come into play in filling up that body.
So here's the question, Coach, because we got to get here. So I'm emceeing the Daytona Beach Classic about 5 years ago. Breon's a guest poser. He was about 193 to 195, 6-7 weeks out from the Olympia. This is October. We're going into December. And I thought, man, how is he ever, as lean as he is, as good as he looks right now, is he ever going to lose enough, including some muscle, to get into that box? Why was the decision not made between 19 and 24 to go 212?
I encouraged this to happen, but he still wanted to, do his business in the Classic. I think he was comfortable there, and I think for me, I didn't hear this from him, but I know when he first came out of the Mr. USA, he went up for 212, and he didn't have a good look. It wasn't a good look. I wasn't around, but I met him shortly after that time, and he didn't have a good experience at 212. And he probably just by knowing him, I think he felt more comfortable chiseling down and getting to this look where he was beginning to, be Mr. Olympia and everything like that. But I've been asking for him, hey, I said, we're not really bodybuilding yet. If you're not able to just show your physique in his entirety and then go to show, I know it's different poses and more poses, but I think I've seen the better look at it, 196, 197. I've seen it look crazy.
Oh, yeah.
And then you got to erase a lot of the cuts and a lot of the flare of the body to get down to the weight.
Yeah.
And then, but let's just face it, there's not a lot of big flaring muscle groups that people are talking about, because we had some champions like Dexter Jackson, who at the end of his career, no one said anything about no flaring quads. Not one person.
I did.
Bullshit.
I did.
Bullshit.
In his last
You ain't never
Olympia,
said that to
in
Dexter.
His last Olympia,
You said that to
he
Dexter.
Didn't have flaring
You
quads.
said that to Dexter.
First of
I
all,
want to hear
calm
that
down.
day. I want to hear
Calm
that day.
down.
No, you calm
it's
down.
Time for me to
Stop
educate
lying.
you. It's
Stop
time for me
lying.
to educate you.
Stop lying.
Okay, Dexter Jackson's last Olympia. I just did a
never
live
said-
with him
because
while
his
you were
body
smoking
changed.
marijuana in Marbella.
You keep
okay,
saying that.
I just did a live with him, and he was
you
categorically. He said my quads were not as prominent in my last Olympia. Let's go back to Breon Ansley,
I
okay?
got-
Because the topic is Breon now or never. When Breon Ansley,
I got a lot in the chamber for
when
this guy, but I
Breon
try not to
Ansley
hate
won
into him.
his Olympia titles as a classic physique competitor, he made the weight. He sacrificed, he made the weight, and he won. There were guys that tried to make the weight and couldn't make it. There were guys that tried to be as good as Breon and they didn't make it. In history, what matters is that he won those 2 titles.
I'm just saying, no one in the class division have big legs.
And right now, Breon Ansley needs to gain more muscle, because now there's a little bit more space
Who
to
has
gain
big
more
legs in the
muscle.
Classic?
And
What's
he
his name?
needs to surpass
Not a big
Breon
legs
Ansley,
division.
Ramon, and Wesley Vissers. This is the question, is now or never. If he doesn't beat these guys this coming year, I'm going to believe that the best
This
of Breon
is-
Ansley has been
This
in the
is
past.
his last year in the Classic. He's going to do Dubai, and he's going to do the Olympia, and then that's it for the Classic for him. He already said that many times. This is his last career.
Yeah, I thought the last couple
That's
times he
it.
said, I'm out, and then he said, yeah, I'm
no,
good.
no, I know. But this is the last year because, you know, he has no choice but to go up and to see what else he has in the tank. But he feels fresh. He started late in bodybuilding, started competing at 31 years old. And right now at the young 44, he has all his hair. He's not getting transplants, nothing like that. I mean, he's fresh. He's fresh. Not overdoing anything.
What does the
Don't
hair
have
have
any-
to do with it?
I'm just
I mean,
saying.
what does the hair have to
He's
do
44
with
with
it?
all his hair. Like,
You know
that's-
what I mean?
They should promote that in the sport.
I mean-
you should promote that in the sport.
What,
This
hair-
guy got
hair?
full hair. He looks young. I mean, look at
Let
him,
me tell
man.
you one thing, okay? I judge the shows. We do not care about people's hairs.
Well, that means
you can be
healthy.
a bald
That means
bikini
he's
chick
healthy.
and you can win the Olympia.
Oh, where's the
We're
hair
not
flip then?
judging,
Where's the hair flip
we're
gonna
not
come
judging
from?
the hair.
Well, when
we're
they turn-
judging the physique. We don't care if a
Why did
a
they turn
girl-
around and all flip their hair?
Okay, we don't care about the hair.
Why did they flip their hair?
They can flip the hair as much as they do.
Shoulder shrug?
We don't care. We're looking at the physique. If you're a bodybuilder and you have hair and you don't have hair,
So
that
if I don't-
matters nothing.
So if I'm doing bikini, I don't shrug my shoulder. I'm not gonna,
you won't win the Olympia because you didn't, did the shoulder thing.
What about the hair?
or the eye thing. That's something each
Why do they all
competitor
care about the
expresses
hair?
themselves. Okay,
everyone.
it doesn't matter if Breon Ansley has hair or doesn't.
No
it
bald
doesn't
spots,
matter.
and you won the Olympia
Okay,
twice.
we're
and you're
sponsored
44.
by Rogaine. Okay,
And you're 44.
Let's look for
You
Rogaine
should promote that
implants.
healthiness, that healthy look.
Let's
in the
just
sport.
get Rogaine implants here to sponsor our event because now hair matters.
Well, the nice thing, Chris, we've got to thank
hair
you for.
matters.
You're not just a member; you're also the president.
His hair matters.
So, guys, this is, and we will circle back to the topic real quick. So you're going on record as saying, as the official spokesman for Breon, saying this is the last year in Classic.
Last
and he
year in
wants to see
Classic.
what's left in the tank, which I think is beautiful. Move up to 212, let the natural growth happen. Does he take a year off, or does he pop
and
right
he
up?
don't. No, keep rocking.
Yeah.
Keep rocking and keep rolling. He loves bodybuilding. He is one that can take his shirt off year around, and I love that for this guy because that means he's staying on his game every day, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, all year round, every year. And you can't say that about a lot of champions.
Derek?
Well, once again, Chris Cormier, that's great
You
that
can't
he's
say it.
taking out his shirt all over
Because
the
he's
world
in shape.
every single day, that he's got hair. I don't know if he's got 3 testicles, but what matters is what happened at the Olympia. We're not judging
I'm
the
just saying you
hair.
should promote
We're
people
not
like
judging
that.
if he's taking off his
You
shirt,
should promote
if he's
people
got
like
3
that.
testicles. We're just judging the physique on that day.
Well, it's now or never, no matter how you're built, Breon. Folks, tell us what you think about our topics today. Like, subscribe, share with your friends. We love being your go-to for all things Olympia, and it's
Damn
coming up,
it.
it's coming up fast. Folks, as always, I'm Tim Wilkins. These two fine gents who are probably going to come right off air and hug. Tarek Kilgindi,
Nope, not today.
It's nice to be next to you, Tim.
Chris Cormier,
Not
the
today.
real deal.
Not today.
Not today. We'll see you next time on Primetime Muscle.